Here we are. It is Friday, TGIF, my friends. Last Friday in October. How did that happen? Okay, if you are new, welcome. If you have been with me before, thank you for joining me again. I'm going to tap the screen to say thank you, and thank you for joining me while we're waiting for people to get on the app. With that being said, I was diagnosed with HSV1 in 2003 and HSV2 down there in 2011. So I have been living with herpes for decades. I've been publicly speaking about my herpes diagnosis since 2017. So I have been doing this, and it is I feel like it's my calling, it's my honor, it's my gratitude, humility. I don't know how all these words I'm coming up with, but I am here to help you, and I'm here to share what it is like to be living with herpes. Like I said, I've been living with this for a very long time, and I am talking about my life. So a lot of questions I get are about marriage. I get a lot of questions about dating. I get a lot of questions about oral herpes, genital herpes, HSV1, HSV2. Can they go back and forth? Can you, if you're contagious here, you can contagious there. If you're contagious there, you contagious here. Can you have a baby? Can you breastfeed? All sorts of fun stuff. I get questions about supplements. I get questions about outbreak prevention. I get questions about the best products to use. So many fun questions. So if you've been live with me before, you do know that I answer them in the order that they come. And so the app sometimes mixes them up. So I apologize if you're like, dude, I've been asking my question, Alexandra, why haven't you answered it? I probably haven't seen it. As well as do your best to keep these questions G-rated. So a lot of times if they're PG, for sure PG-13, they will get canned. The app does not like that, all right? So thank you for the hearts. If you know someone that has herpes, if you know someone that needs to hear this information, please share it with them, because this is why I'm here, so that I can definitely support you and I can do what I can to help get you the information you know. And if I don't know the information, which happens all the time, right? I don't know everything. I can point you into the right direction to help you find that person that can help you with your question. So thank you for the hearts. I really appreciate it. Erin says she's 39 weeks. My doctor did a culture and it came back negative, but I'm still concerned. A culture of an outbreak? Like, did you actually have if you had an outbreak, then I would say that would be positive. Like, if you have an outbreak, you have an outbreak. I would say if you're concerned, you need to go back to your doctor and express your concern to your doctor. Number one. Number two, if you're concerned, then get asked to be on the antiviral. So if you're on the antiviral, then if you do not have an outbreak, and you get on the same page with your doctor. But if you don't have an outbreak and are on the antiviral, you have a very small chance of transmitting the virus to your child. This is something that doctors do all the time. They'll put their patient, the mom, on the antiviral, and typically you could have a vaginal delivery. I had a vaginal delivery. My doctor says that he's never had a baby come out, with herpes. So yeah, it's something that can be done. I'd recommend, Erin, going right back to your doctor. Also, congratulations. You're going to have a baby next week. That's huge. Congratulations. Tips on preventing spreading herpes to your partner. Yes, I do want to, sorry, I was just reading comments. So tips on preventing the spreading. I do want to make sure that you're aware that what works for me is going to be different for you. It's going to be different for everybody involved. What matters here is you and your partner getting on the same page and making it a joint decision. Everybody's relationship, everybody's marriage, everybody's partnership, if you're DTF, if you're F buddies, whatever it is, it's going to be different. So according to the FDA, according to the CDC, the best thing that you can do would be taking the antiviral. That lowers the transmission rate by 48%. The next thing you can do with that is use a condom. So antiviral and condom are going to be what is told to be the best way. Condom prevents transmission between 30 and 50% of the time. The reason why it's only 30 to 50% of the time is we can use my tea here. Let me take a sip. As if this was the condom on this is perfect. Let's say this is the condom and the skinny part is not covered. Well, this skin is still exposed, right? It's just this part that's covered. So when you're intimate with a partner, there's a lot of skin that's still touching. Herpes, genital herpes doesn't necessarily mean it's on the genitals. It can be on your tailbone, it can be on your butt, it can be on your hamstring, it can be on your thigh, it can be on your inner thigh. It can be in a lot of different areas. So just because you're using a condom doesn't mean you're gonna help prevent herpes if you have herpes in another area. Now, if you have herpes on your cervix, you have herpes around the opening of your vagina, you have herpes on the head of your penis, you have herpes on the shaft of your penis, that's great. All right, so number one, I would say if you wanna take the antiviral, great. If you wanna take if you wanna use condoms, great. Number three, I would say communicate with your partner. Hey, I just had an outbreak, or hey, I feel like I'm having an outbreak, or hey, I've been kind of run down. This is what's going on, or I don't feel quite right there. Communication is key. Just because you've had that initial conversation with your partner that, hey, I have herpes, doesn't mean that that's the last conversation you're gonna have about herpes with your partner. The next thing that I do is I take Lysine. This is a non-negotiable for me. This is a supplement. It is not a prescription, it's a supplement. If you have questions, please talk to your doctor. It's meant to supplement your diet. It's meant to supplement the foods you're consuming. Lysine is an essential amino acid. It's a protein that helps block the replication of the herpes virus. So when we have high lysine, our body is high lysine, it can help block the replication. So I believe for me that this helps keep it at bay. It helps keep it further and few between. And if I do have an outbreak, it helps speed up recovery. So that's something that I take daily. There's other supplements that I take daily. There's another thing that I can suggest. It is part of the Secret Society Wellness. I don't have it here. Hold on. Our Secret Society Wellness products that I created took over a year to formulate. Aha! It is you guys' lucky day. The lube. Okay, so here's our lube. It is the, what is it called? I can't think of what it's called. Anyways, we have a fun name for it. Why can't I think of what it's called? Anyways, this is our lube that we've created. Definitely, this is oil-based, so you have to be careful. If you are using condoms, do not use this lube. But this is an oil-based. It has some products in it that can help with potentially calming you. This is not something I would say to help prevent transmission. This is something I can say that when you are in a relationship, this can help with, it's just a natural product. It can help with the friction. It can help with things like that. So I do have it linked if you guys want to check it out. I think it's awesome. My husband and I enjoy it. Okay, so hope that helped. Erin, you said you've been on the antiviral but still have something going on. I would, again, go back to your doctor and I would say, what is the most important thing to you and what do you think? Listen to your gut. If you're feeling like you have something going on and you're worried about delivering this baby, then potentially have a C-section. Again, talk to your doctor. I can't make that decision for you. Only you and your doctor can make that decision for you. But I'll be thinking about you. Congratulations on a baby. That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. All right, I'm gonna tap the screen for that baby that's gonna be born. All right, guys, if you know someone that has herpes, if you have herpes, if you have a friend that has herpes, you have a lover that has herpes, please share my information with them. So either share it or follow. Guys, I'm seeing lots of follows come in, so thank you for the follows. I appreciate that. I am filled with gratitude that you are spending your Friday morning with me on this live, so thank you. Can you explain more? Can you explain more of what asymptomatic shedding is in the transmission rate? Okay, so so we have symptomatic and asymptomatic. So symptomatic means I show symptoms. Symptomatic means I have symptoms. Asymptomatic means, sorry, I have a text message that came through that I have to, there we go. Asymptomatic shedding means that you do not have symptoms. Okay, so there's no itch, there's no tingle, there's no blister. You don't know that this is happening. Symptomatic shedding would mean that you would have the itch. You'd be like, gosh, something just doesn't feel right down there. I have the nerves going, or it's this, or it's that, or it's itchy, or it's just tingly. That would be symptomatic. Asymptomatic the host doesn't know that the virus is shedding. So the transmission rate is pretty high with shedding. 70% of transmissions occur via asymptomatic shedding. So most people, or via shedding, most people transmit herpes when they don't have an outbreak, which is unfortunate. So even if you're on the Valtrex, even if you're on the antiviral, you can still shed. However, that lessens the shedding significantly. I don't necessarily have a percent for that, but I do know that being on the antiviral lessens the transmission rate by 48%. So I hope that helps. I just got a notification that some of the comments on this live were filtered to protect the community's experience. Anyways, if your question got bounced or whatever, try and rephrase it, rated G. That way we can make sure. Sorry guys, it's just the way that the app is. It's frustrating, I know. Can you speak about shedding? Okay, just did. And how can you know that it's kind of, yeah, I know. Shedding is kind of that like scary thing because we think, okay, obviously I know when I have an outbreak. Obviously, like I have no doubt that I know that I have an outbreak, clearly. And then clearly if I have an outbreak, I'm not going to engage in any sort of activity that would potentially impact my partner, clearly. But when there is no signs or symptoms, that guilt or that am I potentially putting my partner at risk? So here's how I would recommend dealing with it. And this is why it's really important to have a communication process with your partner. This is why you need to communicate that you have herpes. This is why you need to talk about I'm run down, or I feel a little off, or maybe I just got a little tingle going on. I don't know what's going on, right? So that's why you need to have those conversations. If you and your partner, I would say 3 things when disclosing. If you guys are both over the age of 18, great, you guys want to be over the age of, you don't want to deal with a minor issue. Over the age of 18, you had this conversation sober, right? You weren't dealing with somebody that was high or drunk or 10 shots in as you're leaving the bar, right? You had a sober conversation and the person's competent. This person's able to make his or her own decisions. We're not working with somebody that is lacking competency. And this person has said, yes, I'm okay with taking the risk, then you have to be okay with it. There's a risk in everything we do. There's a risk in everything that we could potentially do, right? There's a risk in driving my car. I drive my car every single day, and I have a risk that every single time I get in my car, it can be fatal, right? So understanding the risks and making those educated choices and deciding, hey, I'm going to get in my car sober. I'm going to get in my car when I know my windshield's clean. I'm going to get in my car knowing that it's been sent to the dealer to be, serviced, and the brakes are fixed, and I'm going to wear my seatbelt, and I'm going to pay attention. Like, I make those decisions, right? So that's kind of the same thing with being in a relationship with someone that has herpes. You are going to make that decision if it's the right thing for you or not. And if your partner says, hey, I'm okay, then you have to let that go. It's not your decision to make for your partner. A lot of times, especially in women, will say, well, I just don't think that the partner deserves me, and I just don't want to give him herpes, and so I'm just going to leave. I know he says he's okay with it. I don't want him to have to deal with this. And you're doing a disservice to your partner. And I'm speaking specifically to ladies because we do this the most, is we will make that decision for our partner thinking that we're making the right decision for them, and it's not your decision to make. A partnership is 50-50. If you have a partner that shows up and wants to be with you and you want to be with that person, then you guys need to work together, not you make the decision for your partner. Okay? So I know that like is a little triggering about, it's kind of scary. You don't know when you're having an outbreak or you're shedding. Yeah, absolutely. You are absolutely correct. But there are things that we can do. Like I said, we can take Lysine. Again, this is something I take daily. We have Andrographis, very potent. There are some medical articles, some peer review medical articles, journals that state that this is really great for your partner that does not have herpes. It helps preventing transmission. And then again, this is not me saying this. This is fact. This is written. This is a medical journal. And then we have Monolaurin. So these 3 things are my non-negotiables that I take daily, and I believe that they help prevent transmission. This is my belief. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't really know what they do on a cellular level to my body, but Monolaurin helps break down the outer layer of an enveloped cell. So when you have an enveloped cell, it has a shell on it, and our immune system can't penetrate it. So by adding Monolaurin to your supplements, it can help disrupt those outer shells for viruses that can be funky, that can be tricky, that can impact our health, like HSV and other viruses. So those are my non-negotiables. What other STDs can look like HSV? I wouldn't say other STDs can look like HSV. I would say other things can look like herpes, bug bites, jock itch, yeast infection in women, kind of just irritated skin, things like that. But there are no other, from what I know. I don't really know what syphilis looks like. I'm not an expert in syphilis, so I would potentially look at that. But there could be other sort of things that are contact dermatitis, some sort of skin irritations or diseases that could look like it. Oops. Guys, thank you for the hearts. I see them. I appreciate them. You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for the shares. Cody, I think I answered your question. Did I answer it? So someone's saying, you know someone that has had only one outbreak and they've had it for 25 years, and that outbreak was when they found out. Yeah, so that's really common for people. That's one of the biggest misconceptions, is this herpes virus can lie dormant in our system for months, years, decades. You can be celibate and all of a sudden you get genital herpes. You can be in a monogamous marriage and all of a sudden you have your first outbreak. This happens more often than you would think. Obviously, if you have multiple partners, you're gonna be more at risk, I guess, of contracting the virus, but it happens all the time when people are like, I don't know what just happened. I've talked to a lot of new daddies when their wife, like either they find out their wife's pregnant or they just have the baby. I've talked to so many of them and they're like, I don't know what happened. Like I've been monogamous and I just got this outbreak. What happened? Because they're under stress. They have a new baby. What's the transmission rate for someone who has never had an outbreak? I don't have a percent for you, but I would say it's far less than someone that's had an outbreak. And the only reason why I'm going off of those statistics is clearly if you have an outbreak, you're far more likely to transmit herpes when you have an outbreak. Obviously, right? It's active. It's an active viral DNA. But can you still transmit without an outbreak? Yes. People that are asymptomatic, that don't have outbreaks, are less likely to transmit it, also because they're statistically less likely to have shedding. But again, I don't have a percent for you. We could use the example of, obviously if you're playing with fire, you're more likely to get burned when you play with fire, but you can still get burned even though you're not playing with fire, because you could touch the grill when the fire's out, not knowing that the grill was hot. Does that make sense? My boyfriend didn't know he's asymptomatic. That happens all the time. All the time. Most people are asymptomatic and they're not getting tested because people don't test for this, unfortunately. And so either they don't know they should be getting tested, they don't know they should be asking for herpes on their STI test, or the doctors aren't testing for it. How long did the first outbreak last? For me, it was like 2 or 3 weeks. It was pretty long. Is a negative blood test after 9 weeks reassuring? I would say that's reassuring. I would say it's reassuring. Mine was 3 weeks. I was in the ER for 2 days because I was so sick. Yep, I understand. Dealing with my first outbreak, how do I manage the symptoms? It's been painful. So I do have an outbreak remedies linked for you. It's called outbreakremedies.com. I did change the link, you guys. Yesterday it was 404, it was broken. I do have it changed for you. You can go straight there, outbreakremedies.com, and you can have a download of all the things that you can do right now. A lot of them you probably have at home to help you with your symptoms. What just came to mind is if you have Epsom salts, I would do an Epsom salt bath. If you don't, I think we created this specifically for herpes outbreaks, but the recovery soak is going to be the best thing because there are some ingredients in here that are awesome for helping you relax, helping with pain. And then there's some other great ingredients in here like chamomile, oregano, geranium oil, other great essential oils that can help with the pain. I think the salts help with kind of like, I don't know about you guys, but it could be an old wives' tale. But when I grew up at the beach, and whenever I was like had an owie or was kind of sick or whatever, my mom would always say, go get in the ocean. Like, just go swimming and it'll clean out your wound. The salt will clean out your wound. Now, that could be an old wives' tale. I don't know. But I feel like it always cleaned out my wounds. And so I feel like the salt also does that. It just soothes, it just heals. So that's all linked for you. But download the outbreaktoolkit.com, and it's free, and it's like 21 pages, and it'll walk you through. Is it always painful? No, it's not always painful. You always know it's there, but it's not painful. How do you know what type you have if you're asymptomatic? You would have to get a blood test, and the blood test will tell you if you're HSV1 or HSV2. Where can you get what from? The supplements. The supplements are linked for you. You do get a % off. You do get a great discount for Monolaurin, Lysine, and Monolaurin, Lysine, and Andrographis. They're all linked for you. The Secret Society wellness products are also all linked for you, so you can check them out. Daily antivirals have helped you. That's awesome. I'm not gonna comment on what like the IgG levels are, if that's high or low. To be honest, I don't know, because I'm not a trained doctor. What do you think about taking valacyclovir and lysine together? So lysine is a supplement meant to supplement your diet. It's an essential amino acid. It's a protein that you consume in regular foods that you eat, like eggs, like potatoes, like vegetables, like protein, like cheese, like dairy, things like that. So you are consuming it. Valacyclovir is a drug. It is a prescription drug. It's an antiviral. So they're not going to like conflict one another. You can take them together. If you have questions, ask your pharmacist or ask your doctor. But I've taken them together. They've been prescribed to me, recommended to take together. Obviously, if you have questions, ask. At this point, I no longer take the antiviral. I just take the lysine. I had barely any before pregnancy, but not with being pregnant. It's a lot. How do you do it? Yeah, I was the same way. When each trimester, I got more and more, and I just think there's just more and more stress on your body. And then it kind of comes and goes. So you'll just have to see what your body does. I mean, you have to think, like, when you're pregnant, you're like a different animal. You're not you. You're a whole different person. So I wouldn't give yourself the pressure of like, I'm getting outbreaks, what's going on? Just get through your pregnancy and then get back to your normal body. Jeffrey, you just got diagnosed with HSV. What should you do? Okay, you should download the Outbreak Remedies. I have it linked for you. It's 21-page ebook. It's free. It talks about all of the outbreak remedies for you. As far as dealing with it emotionally, the emotional part of being diagnosed with herpes is far worse than the actual physical part. For those of you that are newly diagnosed and you're like, what do I do? I would join the Secret Society. It is our online support group. I have had this since 2017. I've been speaking to this community since 2017. It is global, it is worldwide, and we have 8 monthly calls. It is a monthly subscription, so it is a monthly payment. It's an online chat, so it works just like any social media platform, and you just get 24-hour hand-holding. You have a community of people all over the world. You get to speak to me 8 times a month. It really is the best place to go if you are just diagnosed with herpes, or even if you are a veteran like me and you're like, I'm going through a hard time. What do I do? That's what I'd recommend if you guys have just been diagnosed. All right, friends, I'm doing my best to get through all of them. Let me see. If you give birth and don't have an outbreak will you give it to your baby? So no, it's skin-to-skin transmission. While you're pregnant, you cannot transmit the virus to your child. It's skin to skin. But you're going to want to make sure you're not shedding. And so you're going to want to talk to your doctor about taking an antiviral when you're pregnant. That way, it's going to do the best to prevent transmission to your child. Yeah, hormones. I've heard women that go towards their menopause